Ma'am!
That's one way to start.
That is one way to start.
Welcome, everybody. Come on in. Remember, tapping is clapping, and our goal tonight is 20K. Hey, Shar. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, Emery. How you doing tonight, bud? Congratulations on the new audiobook, by the way. I saw your video. I am hanging in there the best I can. It was a sprint to the finish line, or a mad dash. I don't know which way we want to put that, but it was definitely a run for your money for tonight's live.
And we're just going to completely ignore that my dear friend Julie and I just realized that we are on opposite sides of Chicago. This is the one thing Julie and I do not see eye to eye on.
You know what? All friendships are made up of some sort of rivalry.
Right.
Well, it's a process. It always is. But I am looking forward to it and looking forward to getting to listen to it.
Absolutely. You did put in the form the release date for the audio, right? Or did you put the original release date? I don't remember. Because regardless, I mean, we're a little slow on the uptake of getting together.
He hasn't given the release date yet. Okay.
Okay.
As soon as you know something, if you could scoot it over to us, that way we can do a whole big thing and get you up here for that.
Yeah, because we haven't quite, well, we very much appreciate those who have shown interest in the author interviews and the book release parties. We really haven't set up a format for that, but we're going to try. And we're very thankful that so many of the people who have submitted are friends of ours, who will give us a little bit of grace while we're figuring this out.
Everything out in the process. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the best thing. We are trying our absolute best to make sure that we use everything in our power to promote all indie authors and make sure that everybody has as successful as we can get it with our little thing as much as possible. Yeah, you look like you're just floating around. Because it doesn't pick up your chair.
Oh, my Lanta. But look, even with my new setup, it's a
You can
better.
see you more.
Yeah.
Everything's coming in clear, too. So, we are good. It is time for the Hold My Pen Promptcast. Yay! I am your host, Julie DeFisher, author of Destined for Four and Four Queens for Four Kings series, along with the Destin Chronicles. My lovely co-host, Miss Izzy Krause, the extreme reader and reading tracker and all around baddie on her own. Yes, let's break out the notebook.
And 2025 has been started for 6 months. Maybe a little bit of an overachiever in certain aspects.
Just a smidge, but we don't. But that's part of your charm.
There it is. Sweet, sweet, sweet. And of course, as you know, we do have our own Discord where we hang out, write together, whether you're writing for the prompt or you're writing anything else. No stealing of ideas, but definitely you got a question like, hey guys, tell me what you think. Always willing to do a quick listen and give out advice. And we do body doubling, we do sprints, um, and on top of that, we list there's a whole thread inside Discord just for the weekly writing prompts if you want to check. But we also have a mailing list. So you can go to the link in our bios and go over to the beacons for Hold My Pen Promptcast and sign up for the mailing list. And we promise you will not get more than one email a week. Okay.
Right.
All it's going to be is the weekly promptcast, the general submission rules, and any special things like our November challenge of Harvest the Words and how it goes, what you need to do, or you don't even have to do it.
Harvest the Words is our version of that shall not be named.
Yeah, that November thing that shall not be named. Yeah.
Yes. So if you want to follow along with the prompts, follow along with the prompts. You want to write your own thing this month? Do it. We are an equal opportunity. Let's encourage everybody to do exactly what it is. Hold my pen and watch this. And tonight we are getting into what, week 34? We're coming up so
Yeah.
close to our year.
It's prompt 34 because we did take some time off here and
Right.
there. Next year, now that things are running a little bit smoother, we have a plan, we have things going. Uh, by the end of the year next year, there will be 52 prompts.
We are now going into this week's submissions.
Yes, yes, we are. And of course, as if you were not here last week, that is quite all right. We are going to share. Uh, this week's prompt was to use this piece of dialogue, adjust as necessary for your sentence structure and grammar. But you said you didn't see your wife at all that day. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And if you're playing along with the Harvest the Word challenge, this links into last week's prompt.
All right. And our first submission, thank you. I love Timu. So our first submission is from our lovely resident horror likes to shock the pants off of Izzy writer Dahlia, and this is in a story that she's putting together called The Axiom, and she shared with us chapter 3. Margaret. People trust me with their marriages. They really shouldn't, Margaret thought as she watched her poor patient ramble on about the most absurd things. She tapped the pen on her data pad as he continued rambling. So tell me about these secret films you received, Margaret asked. Secret films? Dahlia, Dahlia, where are you going? It was a film sent from another axiom in space. Apparently, they landed in a galaxy similar to ours. There were humans just like us, but yet not quite like us, the patient said nervously. What do you mean, like us, but yet not quite like us? The last film I got was some dude filming these humans. He was hiding, though, and the recording was shaking a lot. These humans were doing everything during the night and slept during the day. Based off what the dude whispered into the video, their eyes were bigger too. Humans, but not really. It's like they took humans from Earth and left them there for thousands of years, only to evolve differently from how we did in the same time on Earth. What is making you so nervous about these films? They can't really hurt you. You are not where these evolved humans are. They could come here and get us next, like the dude in the video, the patient whispered, looking around the room and fixating on a digital photo of animals changing every 10 seconds to a new animal. An image of a snake appears in a digital photo. The patient began hyperventilating. Margaret handed him a bag and calmly took deep breaths in and out, moving her hand up and down. In sync with the breathing, her patient slowly collected himself. I am here to talk and listen, Margaret said gently, holding her hand out for the bag. He gave her the bag and slowly took 2 deep breaths in and out without the help of the bag. Who walks a pet python at night? The patient cried. I am sorry, did I hear you right? You heard that correctly, a pet python. That python saw the man, and next thing I know, I see it racing towards him. The owner let the creature leash go and ran behind as the snake slithered as fast as it could. The man ran but didn't get far as the data pad he was using dropped to the ground. The python kept biting him and wrapped around the man. That python was massive. It swallowed the man whole once he was dead. The human from that planet grabbed the data pad and looked at it before turning the recording off. How do you know it was a data pad the man was recording off of? Margaret questioned. I don't know, I just assume it is. The man had the same kind of axiom suit as we do, but it was green. Does your wife know about these videos? No, I can't let her see these horrible videos. As the two of them talked about the film Scent, the man became more scared of what might be lurking around other corners of space. The endless theories of aliens coming for everyone on different axioms, how they might be the last surviving axiom. The session ended with him being told that there were probably more axioms surviving than he thinks. With some spare time before the next patient, Margaret watched the video of the man getting killed by the python. Well, that was a success. I don't know who is sending these videos, but thank you, mystery person. The next patient walks in. He is alone this time. Margaret thinks to herself as she motions him to sit. So what would you like to talk about today? Margaret said, initiating the new session. I think my wife has been ignoring me all week, as well as all last week, he said, taking the seat across from Margaret. Why do you think that is? I have been having a digital affair with my wife. On Friday, we were sitting in the theater, and I went to go to the bathroom and called my affair partner. But you said you didn't see your wife at all that day. In fact, I thought you didn't see her at all last week. What? No, I saw her, but she just ignored me. No, you said I think my wife has been ignoring me all week. Last week I didn't see her around once, and this week she has continued to ignore me, is what you said, if I am not mistaken, Margaret said with a devious smile. Oh, yeah, I probably said that. But I was with her when we went to the movies together, he said, tapping his foot nervously. Did your wife find out about the affair? Overhear a conversation between you and the other person? Margaret asked. No, not that I'm aware of. I have hidden all evidence. Dahlia. Does your wife know you came to therapy alone today? Yes, she is waiting outside. She wants to go in after me, he said, pulling his hair. Yes, I knew that when they booked an appointment a few days ago. I am very surprised he would risk going first and telling me everything. I thought he would be smart enough to go after his wife. Nonetheless, what is done, Margaret thought. You want to know what's more fucked up? What is that? I have started receiving strange videos about what's happening on Earth. It's like aliens have taken over our planet or something. When did this start? Margaret asked, intrigued. Shortly before I started having the affair. Well, we are out of time. How about we pick this up next week? Walking out of the room, his wife came in next. Margaret's face lit up with a mischievous grin. I won't tell her quite yet, Margaret thought. As his wife took a seat, a message popped up on Margaret's data pad. Hey, sweetie, I just finished with my therapist. Want to play some virtual golf later? What would you like to talk about today? Margaret asked her next patient. Dahlia!
Ma'am.
I am not going to that therapist. Ever. She's playing some kind of twisted game. Oh, wait. She has the same name as not only my first mother-in-law, but my second mother-in-law.
You're not doing a great job.
Her name's Margaret. I already hate her. That was I'm looking forward to seeing where
How that all plays out.
yeah, because three patients in a row and videos and two different Earths and she's talking to both and the
Yep, that this is gonna be one of them. We will wait and sees.
yeah. Uh-huh. All right. So that submission was by Dahlia, who likes to do the whole mind fucks with us. Um, so this week's writing prompt, of course, was to use the dialogue, but you said you didn't see your wife at all that day. Okay. And our second submission is from our other Canadian friend, CR McCormack. Marcus wiped his hand with a soft rag, watching in silent respect as the man tied to a chair in front of him continued to laugh, even with blood streaming steadily from his mouth. Man!
That's one way to start.
That is one way to start! He was lasting a lot longer than many of the other prisoners did. Guess the claim about the midnight wave being bloodless pirates, he spat out a huge mouthful of blood before grinning up at Marcus with red-stained teeth. Wasn't quite as true as I thought. You're still as soft as I expected, though. The first mate had to give the guy credit. He was holding up well against the hour Marcus had spent working him over. As a Draken, Marcus was far from a small man. The draconic blood in his lineage not only gave him a gleaming scattering of blue scales over parts of his dark skin, it also granted him obscene strength that he very often put to use when breaking prisoners like this. It also made moving through the inner parts of the ship a bit frustrating, given his nearly 7-foot frame. He'd also needed his bed custom built, which hadn't been cheap. This particular prisoner was part orc, however, and despite the amount of blood scattering the boards of the brig at the moment from his time in here with Marcus, he wasn't showing any fuss over the beating he'd been given, which didn't surprise Marcus. Their sailmaker was a full-blooded orc, so he knew firsthand how sturdy and powerful they were. I admit, my heart's not in this at the moment, Marcus mused, setting the bloodied cloth aside and sitting in the second chair he'd brought into the room, picking up his pistol from the table he'd loaded up with various means of encouragement. Most of them simply for threat, of course. Of course, we're authors. It's for research purposes. After all, the Midnight Wave did try to avoid unaliving as many people as possible. Ridley only wanted them to spill blood when absolutely necessary, hence the reputation for being bloodless pirates. It was usually very handy, keeping their raids quick and efficient. Lots of nobles were eager Lots of nobles were eager to cooperate when they realized the crew that had taken them hostage were reasonable people who would leave without a fuss so long as they behaved and gave them whatever the ship had been transporting. There was the odd merchant ship that stood up against them, of course, and even then they tried to keep the beating to a minimum, only unaliving to keep themselves alive or when someone crossed a line. Luckily for them, this simply reinforced to the rest of the world that so long as they did what was asked, the bloodless pirates of the Midnight Wave wouldn't hurt them. Marcus looked over the gunpowder in his pistol, shaking his head. We're 2 days out from reaching shore, and right now I'm far more interested in the fact that I'm about to see my wife again than I am with talking to you, he explained. I haven't seen her in nearly a week, so believe me when I say that as soon as you tell me where Mr. Crichton is sailing to, you'll be left alone with 2 days' worth of food and water until we make port. You're as stupid as you look if you think I'm betraying my captain that easily, the thickly muscled prisoner barked. And Marcus shook his head, resting his pistol on his thigh as he lifted a set of thick pliers from the table, eyeing the broken tusk poking up from the man's lower lip. And you're uninspired if you think insulting me over my looks or intelligence will get you anywhere, he retorted. We know Crichton has the hungering mirror in his possession. It's in his best interest if we relieve him of it, which means it's in your best interest if you tell me where he's making land so we can meet him there. Marcus stood, walking over to stand in front of the prisoner. Now, I spoke with Ridley yesterday, but you said you haven't seen your wife in days, the man retorted with a smug, arrogant smirk, clearly proud of himself for what he was likely convinced was a world-class dig. Marcus rolled his eyes, tapping the man's cheek with the butt of his pistol. If I had a gun for every person that made a dig about me and the captain, I could retire from piracy, he assured flatly. You're going to have to do better than that to piss me off. Apparently, the man took that as a challenge, sneering up at the massive man in front of him. It's generous of you to leave your wife behind for the rest of the men in town to have a turn with. Hopefully, she at least charges them so you've got something to show for your kindness, he laughed, even as Marcus went dangerously still. Stupid, stupid orc. With how big of a pushover this crew is, though, I doubt it. I don't imagine it takes much to get under her skirts. Not if she married you. A sharp, terrified scream had Ridley looking up from the maps he'd been going over, turning towards the large window cut into the far wall of his quarters, and watching someone flail and panic in the water. When said person was suddenly pulled underwater, he let out a light sigh and turned to look at his door as it opened and Marcus stepped in. I feel inclined to remind you that we do our best not to kill people, Ridley remarked, joining his first mate at the map table. I'm guessing he did something unforgivable if you fed him to Dessa. He insulted Shauna. Marcus spoke in a tight, flat voice, and Ridley winced. Yeah, that'll do it.
That'll do it. That will do it.
That will do it.
That'll do, pig. That'll do. Hey,
Oh,
Melissa.
pirates! Can I just say that I constantly love the tongue-in-cheek way that your characters interact with one another, the snide comments, the sarcasm. It's the best thing in the world. It's like it's supposed to be a scary thing. Pirates, oh no, thriller, adventure, blah 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 blah. They're they're just smart ass Jack Sparrows. I love it.
And we can see. And we can see that. ARL, welcome, welcome.
Yay! All right. Oh, it's 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 my prompt next. Again, the weekly writing prompt this week was to use the dialogue, but you said you didn't see your wife that at all that day. Yay, Izzy prompt. Miss Burra, are you good? What are you looking at?
Are the lights on the keyboard going?
Yes, but very gently.
That might be what has her attention.
Could be. Could be. All right. So, I, however, did not continue on with last week's into this week's, but this does go into one of my works in progress. Let's see if our uh, regulars recognize or can guess which one. Look, the night before, Marjorie made a huge mess making dinner. She's normally not like that. She knows she has to clean the kitchen after we eat, so the bugs and critters don't get attracted to her mess. She was slow getting her chores done, worse than usual, so I went to bed without her. She was gone when I woke up. But you say you didn't see your wife that next day at all. Detective Jeriah Marshall seemed to look confused. Brian scrubbed his face with both palms, irritated with the repeated questioning. Yes, are you dense? How many times do I have to explain this? I woke up at 10 a.m., my usual time, and she was already gone. Probably dropped the brats off at school. Since she hadn't come home yet, I figured she had finally gone grocery shopping. She hasn't done it yet this week, the lazy bitch. He drummed his fingers on the table surface. About an hour later, like I do every day, I left out the back door to my pole barn, got in my truck, and left for work. When I got home after, the house was completely dark. I checked the garage, and her car was still there. Something's happened to her, and you need to get her back to me. Detective Marshall leaned back precariously in his chair. Well, now, I do believe something happened to her, all right, Mr. Huntington. But why do I have such a hard time believing you had nothing to do with it? He reached forward and to tap the manila folder on the table with a stubby fingertip. You see, I have a file on you, a file listing multiple instances of domestic disturbance at your home for the past decade. You want to explain that? An exasperated growl escaped Brian's lips as he slapped the table angrily. She didn't call you. She never called you. Nosy Karen neighbors can't mind their own fucking business. What a temper, Mr. Huntington. Kind of leads me to believe there may be some truth to these reports, you know? The detective's voice remained calm and friendly. Fuck you, man. You don't know anything. I didn't do anything to my wife. He threw himself into the back of the metal chair, slumping low and crossing his arms across his chest. You wouldn't understand what it's like between a man and his wife anyway. You're into dudes, aren't you? You look like the type. Look, a woman belongs to her husband. I own Marjorie, bro. Detective Marshall grinned in response and laughed. I'll let my wife know I'm into dudes and see what she says. Everything you just said is pretty telling, Mr. Huntington. While it's not a crime to think of your spouse as a possession, and it's not a crime to dislike non-straight people, it's certainly a crime to take your beliefs too far. Did your wife get out of line, Mr. Huntington? Did you have to set her to rights or punish her in the past? The scruffy man in front of him exploded. You're damn right I had to punish her. She made me look bad. Is that so, Mr. Huntington? A soft voice from the corner of the room broke into the men's conversation. Stepping from the shadows, Deputy Attorney General Karen Sharp smiled in a sharp navy pantsuit and jacket. You understand that causing injury to your wife or your children can be charged as a felony, right? Brian glared up from hooded eyes, hunching in the chair. No body, no crime, bitch. Detective Marshall slammed his palm on the file folder. Hey, show some respect. I will throw you in a holding cell. We have enough evidence to hold you on suspicion of murder against your wife and your 3 children, pal. Ms. Sharp stepped closer to the table, leaned a hip against the edge, and peered down at the man. Mr. Huntington, your wife and children are missing. According to your own words, they were missing for 5 days before you even reported them missing. We have calls to the desk sergeant multiple times a year, going back 10 years, never from your family, but from neighbors who called concerned about noises coming from your home. Do you not see how that makes you look like a suspect? She unfolded her arms to place her palms on the table in front of him, lowering her voice to a calm threat. I have enough circumstantial evidence to charge you in connection with their disappearances, bodies or no bodies. Do you really want to test me or my patience? Dun dun dun. I can't tell my thoughts on it because
Yeah, yeah. I'm right there with you, sure. So just a recap here. We have a therapist, a pirate that doesn't like to hurt people, but you go too far and you get fed to the sea monster under the ship, and now a detective. Yeah, this is a well rounded out night. And then you have mine.
hmm that's the newest work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, so now the demon has a name. I wasn't even gonna like that whole story. I was so not going to talk about the X or anything else. But then I was just like, oh shit, and boom. And this is proof, right? I didn't have time all week. All week. I was sick and working and blah 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 blah. Literally sat down with Julie about 4 hours ago and popped it out in about an hour.
Unfortunately, yeah. And I had other things going on this week as well. Several other engagements that called my attention damn near immediately. So um, I had to prioritize, and I knew that once I got that other obligation handled, that I would be good to go to write for the writing prompt.
hmm
And unfortunately, because I've been burning the candle at both ends all week, I have been trying, and I tried to link it to what I already currently had. Unfortunately, this writing prompt goes later in the story, and it does cause some main issues because I couldn't directly link it right then and there. I had to literally do the one thing that I have never done that gives me hives. It makes me itchy. I actually had to go into another file and write just this part for the damn thing so I can, and then I will spend the next 24 hours obsessing about it until I get it over into its rightful place. All right. Well, without further ado,
Sorry,
we're gonna wait. Let Izzy finish whatever she's doing. I don't know what she's doing.
I'm adding more stickers to my laptop
Why are we adding more stickers to the laptop?
because it's blue.
Uh, okay.
Don't ask. Don't ask. I there we go. All right. Well, it is the top of the hour, and we do have our last submission by our lovely host, Julie DeFisher. Uh, like we said, we were a little late today. But again, the prompt was to use this dialogue, but you said you didn't see your wife at all that day. And here we go. A week had passed since the wedding day of Piper and Xander, and things had been more tense than anyone would have imagined. There was always going to be animosity between the two, but this went further. Piper couldn't get over the fact she had caught Xander hiding in the coat room with whom she could only assume was his lover. The blatant disregard for her and the fact that they had just said their vows not even an hour prior boiled her blood for some unknown reason. Unknown reason?
Just keep reading. Keep reading.
This was a ruse for all intents and purposes, but Piper was feeling more of a sense of betrayal than a mission that needed to be completed. She hated when her emotions got brought into a situation instead of the cold and calculated unaliver she had become over the last decade. For her, it was as if all the old wounds had reopened to confirm everything she had already known. When they had moved into the marriage home that was the dowry gift from both parents, Piper had thrown herself into making the cold, sterile place comfortable, as this was now her cover. What bothered her more was not Xander's behavior, but the fact that it had been a week and not a word from Nikki or the Valance family. Unfortunately, with all the newlywed events and the expectation of a honeymoon, Piper hadn't had time to look at her phone. When she would find a moment to herself, someone would pull her into something else. She would go back to the house and be exhausted from keeping her mask up for so long. She would pass out hoping to wake up from this horrible dream. Word had gotten around quickly that Yvette Kaysen had returned and she had finally married Xander Holston. Nadia Meringue was not only less than impressed by the nuptials, as she was due to be the next Mrs. Xander Holston. She had even worn a crimson dress to the ceremony in defiance to everyone in the room. Nadia didn't believe that Yvette had appeared out of thin air. She also had a sneaky suspicion she had seen her somewhere, but where she couldn't place at the moment. Nadia hoped that the old missing person case was still open on Yvette and would tie her up for a little bit, while her and Xander took that trip to Aruba instead of her. She would have to remind herself to calm down or call down to the station and talk to a few of the boys on the payroll. As a knock came to the door early that Saturday morning, oh shit, that was actually kind of perfectly timed. Piper wasn't prepared for it to be the police. Something deep in her gut told her shit was about to go sideways, but she put on her best face when answering the door. Good morning, officer. What can I do for you? Piper put on her best wadded smile. Good morning, ma'am. Are you Yvette Kaysen? Holston, now, but yes, I am Yvette. I'm Officer Jenkins with the Parish Police Department. Do you have time to answer a few questions? All depends on what this is about. Piper kept her voice steady, but something was definitely off about this. Your disappearance. As you know, you have been a missing person for the last 12 years. I had no idea. I simply left town to study abroad. Piper kept her tone even. I see. Can anyone vouch for that? Officer, is it illegal to leave the country? No, ma'am. Just trying to close out this cold case. He was a bit cold, as if he was more on a hunting mission than a wellness check. My now husband saw me off that morning. Unfortunately, he isn't here, and I am now late to meet him and his family for brunch. Yes, ma'am, I will reach out to him to check the. The officer stopped cold, looking down at the papers he had brought with him, but he said he didn't see his fiancée at all that day. Well, officer, Piper put on her best southern smile. Jenkins, was it? I don't know what to tell you. I was out of the country and now I'm back. Now married to Xander Holston. Now, if you don't mind, I must ask you to leave as I have to be at the club in less than 30 minutes and you are causing me to be late. Yes, ma'am. If I have any other questions, I'll be sure to reach out to you. He turned and left. It didn't go unnoticed to Piper that he grabbed his phone off his side and placed a call even before getting in his cruiser. He had looked back at the house several times before raising his voice. Once he was in his car, screaming could be heard, and then he pulled off like a bat out of hell. All the goddamn layers in this! Shitballs! Balls! That, that.
We all love Piper. Though things fixing to go somewhere.
Hmm. You think? You think?
I think.
All right.
So
Well, that was. pretty, I mean, we got mobster, we got pirates, uh, we got a detective, and we got a therapist, all doing different things, talking about didn't see your spouse, your other half, your partner that day specific, and they all went different places. I love these. And if you're still here and you didn't catch it, so last week when we were trying to determine, you guys were all voting, right? Um, we spit out quite a few different prompts. And Dahlia used several of them in this week's submission. The Who Walks a Pet Python at Night was one of them. The very first opening line, people trust me with their marriages and they really shouldn't. These were items that, like, literally we threw out, and Dahlia took up the challenge to put them all in one.
One, yes.
So it's the amazing things that you guys do with this stuff. It just blows my mind. Blows my mind. I keep trying to move my mouse and the battery is dead. That's
Why don't
okay.
you just do what I do? Take it and rub it back and forth real quick, and then then it works.
I really doubt.
Because I have to do the same thing to the
No, it
roll.
immediately went red.
Oh, okay. I
These
tried.
are these are rechargeables.
Oh, okay. Looks like you're dancing in the. We can get on with the rolling of next week's writing prompt.
Woohoo! All right. So move this over there and move the prompts over here. All right. And of course, as we know, we roll 3 times.
And you guys in the audience get to vote
Look at
1, 2, 3, sometimes 4, and tell us what our next week's writing prompt is. I mean, I think that's the best part of the show is waiting to the end. You get your prompt tonight, but you also get to be part of picking the prompt.
yes.
And I have the magic 100-sided dice.
Woohoo! You should get like a container or something with a lip and roll it in there so it's not rolling off.
Well, the whole thing is the way I roll it, it usually bounces off my coaster, and then it ricochets off the corner of the printer, and then it comes to land right by my makeshift. Well, it's a small Folgers container, but it comes back by my makeshift piggy bank, and that's where it stops, and that's where we go. Now, last week it did jump and go under the desk, but it landed in such a fashion that I could still tell what the number was, so it counted.
It counted.
But for big dice, especially like the 100, those rolling trays do not work out very well because unless it double bounces or something like that, you can't get a good roll on it.
That's why I still do not have a 100-sided die, and I use the
Yes.
2 10-sided.
But I have that one and I have a 50, so I'm like, eh.
All right, so the first one is just our good old-fashioned writing prompts. A lot of them have come from this amazing little book.
Oh yeah, quite a few. Quite a few have been inspired by that book right there.
Mhm.
All right, here we go. Bounce. And waiting for it to stop. Number 2.
Wow.
We haven't been that far up in a hot minute.
Okay. I don't know how y'all are gonna feel about this because it's a character discovers a hidden portal to another world.
We've already done that one.
No, that was a group of friends stumble across a portal to another world.
To me, that's the same. It's the same.
I know, I know. Let's look at 102 and see what we got there. Um, no, that has to do with 4th of July. Let's not do it. Reroll.
Reroll. Nat 100.
Okay. Explore the consequences of a wish.
Yeah, I know the dice is being extreme tonight. Like, okay,
Explore the consequences of a wish.
all right. So,
All right. How about our starting first lines?
okay, here we go. 39.
39. Oh, snap.
Oh God, what?
If I could change one thing, it would be contacting the werewolves.
That's not gonna work for my book, but not gonna be working for my book. That might work for a lot of other people's books. That is not gonna. Even your book could have some sort of element with it. It's like, nope, nope.
I, well, and I also have the Werewolf Sherlock that I got
Right,
worked on.
for a while. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Last but not least, our apparently favorite grouping,
One-liners, yes.
dialogue.
All right, here we go. 24. We had to wait for it to stop. It's like it's just bouncing. Oh God, what? What?
Use this dialogue.
It's gonna be dialogue again this week, isn't it?
It's going to be dialogue this week again, I'm pretty sure. I'll find her and bring her home. I promise.
Mm. All right, everybody, in the comments, 1, 2, 3, or 4. No, 1, 2, or 3.
1, 2, or 3, because we're striking one from the hidden portal one. We've
Right.
done that one recently enough that let's not visit that one. Okay, so number 1, explore the consequences of a wish. Okay. Number 2, if there's starting line, if there's one thing I would change, it would be contacting the werewolves. Or number 3, use this dialogue. I'll find her and bring her home. I promise.
So I guess we're gonna go with majority of
I'll
number
find her
3.
and bring her home. I promise.
That is gonna be that's gonna be interesting.
Oh, darn! Julie has to bounce around her story more.
I didn't think of that, ma'am. You had to point that out, didn't you? Right after
I
right
did.
after
I did. I did. I
the
did. I
dialogue
did.
ones are
I
so
did.
good. That's why we love using them.
And as we showed tonight, it does not have to be like word for word. I broke mine up into two different sentences, put at all at the end. You know, Dahlia said, you hadn't seen it for a couple of weeks. You know, adjust.
I
Get
used
your
it.
fiance.
I switched up instead of you,
Yeah, he.
he, him, and fiance.
Yes, yes, indeedy.
Sometimes you gotta be able to adjust to fit your own fancy.
And to fit the grammar or
Right.
the story that you're working with. There we go. And it is in the Discord. Don't forget that we do have a Discord where we body double and we do writing sprints and give advice and talk things out. Having a little bit of a problem, just make sure that I'm not there when you're talking about story mechanics
Oh
because I
yes,
want to be
because
surprised.
we have to leave complete anonymity because Izzy loves her, or we love Izzy's genuine reactions.
Izzy must be kept in the dark until Saturday night.
Right. Even when she was helping me spell words, because spell check wasn't catching it, and I knew what I was trying to say, but I couldn't get to do it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So now my whole thing is, yeah, Izzy's reactions are gold, and you always know when you hit something just right. When Izzy just looks at you and goes, "We're gonna have a conversation about this when we get off here." And I know that look, so Izzy didn't even have to tell me that we're fixing to have a conversation. That's what we got.
Young lady, we are going to talk about this when we get home.
Yes, I know.
We are challenging, and this is the thing. This isn't always easy for either of us. We know we're challenging you guys with these writing prompts, and we participate as well. Some weeks I don't write, some weeks Julie doesn't write because the creative juices weren't flowing. But there's other challenges in it as well. I'm what I like to call a quilter. So I have the prompt with the woman and her three kids and Sven, and this is a completely different scene. I have no idea if it happens after that. I don't know if it happens before that, and eventually it will be two parts of the same story. That's how I write. That is not how Julie writes. And so tonight's prompt is very much her outside her own comfort zone, learning something new. And she's got to remember that when she gets to this point in the story, she can do a quick run through, edit, change a few things to make it fit. And I can't write linearly, but at some point I probably will because of the prompts and because of things like harvest the words, it's going to challenge me to do that. So this is, I really sincerely believe that Julie starting these writing prompts last year for the new year um, has really made all of us grow and challenge ourselves because when you do what you love, it isn't always easy, but it is fulfilling.
Yes, and the shock and awe every week of how many people participate, or if it was just us, or if it was, we've got. I think at most, I think we've had like 6, 7 submissions in one week, and it was awesome. We were over the moon about it. Oh, 9, my bad, 9 submissions that week. We were over the moon about it. Our show ran, and I think damn near 3 hours that night.
Hours.
I think it was like 10, almost 11 o'clock my time before we we shut down
Mm-hmm.
for the night. And I was, that hits, but that also lets me know that what I'm doing is right. Yes, it's an uphill battle most weeks to get me to sit down and write. And especially with the loss of a very important person in my life. And this is the most I've written, literally the most I've written in 4 months, 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
Writing is cathartic. No matter if you're trying to get anger out, happy thoughts, you're scared, you don't know where anything's going. And you
Mm-hmm.
create a character. And you let them go through it and you see how that works out. And that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. And then when it all came to pass, here we were. And I am very grateful for the community that we've built. I'm also very thankful for the amount of love and support. And even if you just come and hang out with us, you ain't gonna write. Just come hang out, tappies, and do the thing, and just let us know you're here. And then we get to sit back going, because at the end of the night we do our recap of what we liked, what we're gonna change, how we can adjust this to get everything working the way it needs to be working, because it all is a work in progress, no matter how the way you put it. And with everything that's
To be clear, real quick, we don't break apart what we didn't like about your guys' work. Oh,
no,
no, no,
I'm talking
no.
about like the format.
We talk about the format, and then we usually devolve talking about, oh my God, can you believe Dahlia's story tonight? That was,
Oh yeah,
she
no,
was
no.
getting so much
Then
better.
we come
Or,
back with our own series.
yeah,
We are very much about our own series.
we dissect and try and go, where's she going with this? Like, what's who and Char? Oh my God, that, and we're sitting there. We feel like we are alpha readers,
Detectives.
and we can't wait for your next bit of the story. But we
Right.
do also rehash, what did we do not so great, so that we can
And that
create
we
those
that yeah,
little
so we can
background
make it
characters.
better and make it more enjoyable for y'all.
Hmm.
And writing outside my comfort zone. I might think of a story in sections, but I never write it out of its section. And tonight, yeah, that's exactly what I did. I had to, because I had to get to the writing prompt. I had to get to that part of the story. And I literally, when I realized I was in the main document and I realized there was no way for me to get there.
At that point
Not in
in the
time.
story. Yeah.
I had less than 4 hours to pull. And I was like, okay, so what are we going to do? Literally 30 minutes before we went live, they'd finished the prompt.
Hmm.
So it is definitely sometimes you get in late. We do ask that if you are going to be late with a submission, just hit one of us up. That way we know that we're looking for it, and we know that, we're missing one. It's like, wait a minute. I'll give Shar as an example because she's right there. It's like, hey guys, I'm having trouble with my internet. I'm submitting, but I'm having trouble with the internet getting it submitted. Please be on the lookout. Now, if it doesn't happen to show up before the end of the night, then we know, hey, it's not that big of a deal. We'll either get to it next week.
Hmm. Or we could, if we don't run out of time. Definitely can do that.
Yeah. But we want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to not only be heard, but to showcase their talent. We have a lot of talented people that quite a few of them did not think that they were very talented when they first started this journey with us at the beginning of the year. And now, one of which, I'm not naming names because I've been asked not to, one of which is going to be publishing their first book at the beginning of the year, and we will have more information. As we get more information on that, we will give you that information. But It was all on one of my writing prompts. I might give you guys the nibbles, but you guys are the one that baked the cake. I give you the bowls and the utensils. You used your own ingredients and talent and brought me a delicious 5-layer cake.
Or in some cases, 5-layer bean dip.
Hey, look, there is nothing wrong with a good 5-layer bean dip.
There really isn't, but sometimes you got that spice and that kick.
You got the spice, you got the kick, and then you realize that you're halfway through and somebody forgot to bring me an extra bag of chips.
Who forgot to bring the extra bag?
That's when we go dun dun dun. Somebody forgot to bring the extra bag of chips. Each thing that I put in my story, whether it's when I'm writing it, how I'm writing it, or the characters I happen to model off of, it is very much a core memory that I get to recall every time I see somebody with one of my books or somebody says something about one of my books. And then I'm like over the moon about the fact that people know who Julie DeFisher is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I probably could walk into these places and people still not know who the hell I am. But they know the name. They know Destined for More. They know that, well, they will soon know the Dustin Chronicles and everything that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that everybody that comes through has that same spark, has that same tenacity.
And gets to have that same feeling.
Right. I mean, just watching Char days leading up to release date. And mind you, this is her 4th book.
Technically 5th.
5th? Well, no. I'm talking about 4th in the series.
I know, but 5th
yeah,
published.
Her 5th book, but the 4th in the series. And yeah, the mobster and the PTA. And she was still giddy as a schoolgirl, freaking out, and all of us are sitting there going, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. You could have told the girl the world was going to end. As long as that book released fine, everything was gonna be gravy.
Yep.
All right, guys. Unfortunately, we've got a very early morning tomorrow with things going on. So we're gonna give it about 5 more minutes, and then we're gonna cut for the evening. We love to thank you for stopping by, joining, throwing up the likes. We do this for y'all. I mean, that and it's fun. It is absolutely amazing to watch things come to light and things get put out there and people stepping outside their comfort zone. I know it made quite a few of my friends in here tonight giddy that I stepped outside of my comfort zone and I wrote in thankfully I got a new piece of equipment that will now allow me to get a program that will make it a whole lot easier for me to do that with. So it's like when I do have that idea, I can write it down without worrying about losing it. And I think that's the main reason I don't write the way everybody else does, and I write very linearly.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm so afraid that I'm going to lose that scrap of paper or that file, and before I know it, it's gone. It poofed. I have a rough idea what it's supposed to say, but I mean, hell, I rewrote the same story 4 times. I have an original copy because of a floppy disk. Yeah, that's really dating this. A 3.5 floppy. And it said Julie's Stories on it. And I was praying that it was one story.
No.
It could have been any of the others, and I would have been like over the moon about it. But I was praying it was one story, because that story I have literally handwritten 4 times. And this is an original copy of that story. And it will be eventually, come out, and I'll do the thing, and maybe even with the prompts. Here's funny. Even with the prompts, I might be able to actually put some meat on those bones and give you guys the story that you all deserve. And not the, how did somebody put that? The fever dream of WhatsApp, which I find funny because I've never wrote on WhatsApp. I've always ever wrote on Dream, but they were close. But the fever dream that was a 15-year-old girl sitting in a class that did not want to be there because she didn't understand, but she could escape into her own damn world. And I'm so happy that other people can escape into my world too.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you very much for stopping by. We hope to see you again next week. Everybody, be on the lookout for that video tomorrow, right somewhere between 2 and 8 p.m.
And don't forget, you can subscribe to our newsletter.
It's in bio.
It is in the link in bio. Go to the Hold My Pen Promptcast beacons and sign up for that. That way you never miss a prompt. It gets delivered to your email approximately 4 to 5 p.m. on Sundays, Eastern time, Eastern Central time, somewhere in there. And that way you can also immediately reply to that email with your submission. Easy to find, easy to go and do the things. Again, we will only email you once a week after those initial welcome emails. And come join our Discord.
Yeah.
Come hang out. Not just live on Saturday night, but we're there quite a bit.
Right. It's our home away from TikTok.
It is. It is indeed.
But we love you guys. Thank you so much. And we will see you all again next week. Remember, be brave, be bold, but always stay humble. Bye, guys.